Racing to the 2020 Breeders' Cup, and this time let's take a look back at the Preakness Stakes on Saturday. An exciting stretch duel with Authentic and Swiss Skydiver. Swiss Skydiver winning the stretch long duel with Authentic and becoming a filly, the first filly since Rachel Alexandra to win the Preakness Stakes. This probably ranks up there for me back to 1989 with Sunday Silence and Easy Goer going at it. That one was a stretch-long duel, and this one really, these two engaged before the turn. That was surprising, and some of that was the fractions. The opening quarter was about 24-2, and they were just off that pace set by 1,000 Words, who surprisingly set the pace. And that means right around 25 for the opening quarter, which turned this race into a 1 mile kind of sprint, and Authentic and Swiss Skydiver really put on a show. Looking at the betting on this race, it was interesting. 3-2 odds, final odds on Authentic. Swiss Skydiver kind of floated a little bit. I thought the filly would be played a little bit against the boys. She went off at a long 12-1, almost 13-1. And then you had horses like 1,000 Words taking some action. He went off at 7-1 in this race. And everybody else was kind of 10, 12, 13-1. They really couldn't choose between Pneumatic and Max Player and Mr. Big News, the third place finisher. The third place finisher in this race, Jesus Team, nice effort from him. He separated himself going into the turn, and pretty much the top three kind of ran that way throughout the stretch. Art Collector picked up fourth place. Kind of looking at the pace of this race, it was kind of surprisingly set by 1,000 Words. Now, he did add blinkers in this race, and he had shown speed with blinkers in the past, so 1,000 Words. And I think that opening quarter with him leading was just enough to kind of get maybe Authentic a little bit out of his groove. Post-race comments from Bob Baffert suggested that maybe he wanted to be on the lead with Authentic. That's where Bob Baffert likes to be, it seems like, in every big race. But you really can't diminish the effort by Authentic after rating the opening quarter, and they went a little bit on the slow side. So I really ain't going to blame the ride on this one. I do want to commend the ride by Robbie Alvarado on Swiss Skydiver. As 1,000 Words started to back up a little bit, a split decision allowed Swiss Skydiver to secure that rail position and save all the ground the entire race, and Authentic may have taken it or may not. In the Kentucky Derby, they chose to be a little bit wider out in the path, but I do think securing that inside rail position by Robbie Alvarado was a key to the victory. Of course, the first time Robbie Alvarado riding Swiss Skydiver. Swiss Skydiver now with 11 races, 7 wins, and she has got a couple of nice grade ones on her resume now, the Alabama Stakes. She has been a traveler all season long. The daughter of Daredevil has hit Gulfstream Park, Oaklawn, Santa Anita, Churchill Downs, Keeneland, and it looks like next she's going to come back and run at Keeneland in the distaff. They do have a chance to run in the Breeders' Cup Classic if they choose. So we'll see what Swiss Skydiver does. Now, the Beyer speed figure out of this race for historical purposes is a 105 currently, and that matches up with what the 105 speed figure for Authentic was in the Derby. And then the Belmont, of course, you had the higher speed figure earned by Tiz the Law. Now, that figure's on paper. I think the way the race is paid out, that's probably very close to the performance. I thought the top two had really good performances. Art Collector, I'm not sure he had the best ride to run his best race, but that still pegs Art Collector in the mid-90s and probably a little bit of aggression from his last couple of races. I think he's capable of doing better. For some of the also-rans, I think Pneumatic kind of had a wide trip, made a backstretch move that maybe wasn't really his best running style. Mr. Big News, no real discernible reason why he didn't fire in this race. Max Player, I think we've seen enough of him. He ran in these races. And at first, going into the Derby, I thought maybe he can improve a little bit, but it seems like he's more just likes to pass tired horses at this time of his career. 1,000 Words, he just seems to need a small field, or he needs to be kind of the alpha dog on the front end, and he just didn't get that in this spot with horses like Swiss Skydiver and Authentic and other horses in this race like Art Collector. So maybe as a 4-year-old, I think there's maybe a little bit of upside with 1,000 Words. He's just not a big horse, so he's just hasn't really gained any weight throughout the summer and hasn't really progressed. So next up, Authentic could run the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, maybe the Breeders' Cup Classic. I assume that's where they're going to point. Also, you've got Swiss Skydiver. She could run in the Classic, but most likely going to run the Distaff against Monomoy Girl and some of the other fillies. And an exciting edition of the 2020 Preakness Stakes. What did you think of the stretch dive? Leave a comment, hit subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications as we're going to go full scale into Breeders' Cup coverage here for the next month leading up to that first Friday and Saturday in November. A recap, Swiss Skydiver, your 2020 Preakness winner.